Why, hello there, Cyclopses and Biclopses alike. Shams Nelson here from Fantastic Anatomy, and today is next installment of my Practical Perspective series where we're going to draw large household items. I'm going to show you some tips and tricks I learned to do that. And so, yeah, large household items pretty much means furniture, is what I discovered. So I'm going to start off with like the most basic stuff and then get into more complicated ones like progressively. So let's start off with a table. It's pretty simple. And if you haven't watched my Practical Perspective number 0, episode 0, that's a good one to watch, especially if you're new to perspective, because it's just about basic shapes and it's an important like prerequisite. So anyone could draw a table from side view like this. So how do we extend that? We use perspective, extend into 3D space. Well, it's pretty simple. You can just kind of draw parallel lines extending out into some distant vanishing point that you imagine, and the top one's going to be parallel to this. And just add another leg. And I'll show you how I find where the legs are in a minute, but I'm just keeping it really simple for this one. Okay, and the other leg will be somewhere here, but you probably won't see it, but let's just draw it anyways. It's terrible tangent. See, I don't want that, but whatever. Anyways, this is just for demonstration purposes. Alright, I'm not going to go back to this like sideways going back in space technique, so I'll go ahead and do it with one more complicated object. So let's do a chair. So chairs, usually, by the way, one thing I discovered, I used to draw or want to draw chairs like this, but that would be a very uncomfortable chair. Chairs usually lean back a little bit, have some kind of curve back so that it's more ergonomically designed. And oftentimes these actually go out in different angles too, but let's just keep that simple because that's not a necessity. Okay, and then you can do the same kind of thing, just keep extending all these lines out. And see, this one is slightly more straight than this one, which is like that, because they're all vanishing to some point roughly over there, maybe farther off the page. This is gonna kind of run parallel to this one. This also is going to go to that point, or the point I'm imagining in my head. And then you can go ahead and build off of this, like, okay, let's add like a cushion. So we can put the cushion right here, but let's have it come off of the thing a little bit like that. Let's carve away a piece. Something like that. And that's how you can go ahead and build more complex shapes starting from a very two-dimensional like model. Okay, so how I usually draw stuff though is, because what I did was in the Practical Perspective 0 series, I just talk about how just like draw lots of shapes. So let's stick with the table for now. So let's say we're drawing just tables from all sorts of perspective. I'm just going to draw the tabletops. These aren't like, I guess there are lots of ways to do that. But alright, let's just go with 3 to keep this video within a timely manner. And then what I do is find the legs next. So what I like to do is cut off a little portion like that, pretend I'm cutting off a portion, because what that lets me do is line it up in this way. And see, I'm actually imagining like there'd be a line that goes all the way across. It's a little too long. And like that. But I just usually imagine it and just do the little corner and not connect all the way. And that gives me an idea of where the leg is. And then let's say I make the leg this long, then I know I go here. It's connected here. See, that was a little farther inside than I would go if I hadn't made these little marks. And then fine, let's draw through and do these too, so you get the idea. But you wouldn't see these obviously because you kind of use the lines you've created already to inform you where everything goes. Alright, well let's just move on to this next one. And then I'll show you a little exercise I like to do that helped me with this table drawing thing. So you'll see me just kind of ghost in the corners just to get an idea. So you can kind of tell how big they are compared to each other just from like eyeballing it. Okay, this one's not going to show. And this one, let's show it a little bit or else it might look weird. Okay. Something like that. So one little exercise that I like to do is add a tablecloth. So let's get rid of these guidelines. And a lot of times this stuff I'll do in my head now. Like with finding these, I'll kind of like ghost it like that with my, but not actually put a mark, and then I'll be able to tell where it is, or I'll just imagine those marks. All right, so a tablecloth, I like to use a round one. It makes it kind of interesting. Um, so that's the first one's the easy one like that, and let's say, and then it's going across here, so this is going to disappear. This one's kind of interesting because it took me a minute. You've got to get it so it lies straight down. So how I do that is divide this like that. Usually, again, I do it in my mind, but it's good to start off with the lines at first if you're not feeling confident, and then connect it. You can see how that kind of feels like it's going straight, um, even if I remove this, because of the way like this side, the curve is a little different, basically. Okay, so now you have, and then let's go like that. This is going up here, and then this corner. So now you've got like a little tablecloth kind of hanging off. I'm not super happy with how that one turned out. But anyways, um, and then I like to add a couple objects on top. So maybe the way I do this in the practical perspective one video, I talk more about this, but I'll like just kind of draw little circles in for the shapes that I want to put, so I keep them the right size, or else I tend to, if I just start drawing, I'll draw it too big or small. So now I know I have to keep it in that area. So let's just do like a little vase, let's say. I'm trying to keep in mind like how it connects the table, maybe a remote. And give the vase some flowers. And let's do a table lamp. And then just keeping on doing this exercise over and over has really gotten me more comfortable with drawing this and drawing stuff next to it. And then um, later on I'll actually extend it to like I'll put a couch here, something like that, which is something we'll talk about drawing a couch in a minute. But I'll find out, okay, where would the couch fit? Something like that maybe. And then I'll go ahead and like fill it out, and maybe I'll keep going, like, okay, what else would we put in the room? Let's put a bookshelf, blah blah blah. So I'll just draw this last one really quickly. So see, this is way over here. It doesn't make any sense. It should be over here. And that's what I can tell from thinking about those guidelines. And this one was way over too far. See, when I don't think about the guidelines, my instinct is to put things in the wrong place. This is what I've discovered. So it's good to draw the guidelines. And then let's put this one in the center. So that's one thing I used to do, is just put the vase right in the center, so I could practice dividing it like this. And then put down a little circle for the vase thing. Kind of imagining the space it takes up, blah blah blah. Here's some flowers. Have a remote control, because every good coffee table has a remote control on it, unfortunately, these days. Alright, cool. So I think we're good on coffee tables. Now, the next more complicated thing let's go to is a bed. So, I guess I'll leave this stuff up. Not really taking up too much space. However, this one's right smack in the center. Alright. So a bed is kind of like a coffee table. But then we're going to give it a couple more things. That's why I like to do that as like my second step up from the coffee table. So it's thicker. It's still got the legs, so you could think about it. It's going to connect from the bottom. So let's just give it a little. I guess that's another ones you're not going to see because there's little stubby legs. And then a headboard. Let's add a headboard. Okay, and then there's the pillows. So the pillows I put on flat, kind of thing like that, like they're paper, and then I kind of think about it 3D. And I do it flat first so I can get the placement. And then I like to put the bed sheet over it like that. So I'm kind of thinking about the floor on the bed sheet going like this. I won't double up the line, it's fine. I think that should get the point across. And then, you know, that second, how the bed sheet's folded over all neat. Anything like that. Erase the parts that the bed sheet's covering up. And ba bing, ba boom, you got a bed. So I don't think that warrants going into too much more detail. One thing that I was doing actually that was a pretty good exercise is, let's do another bed. Okay. And then you know how those like fancy princess beds have that the above part. So I was doing that because that kind of keeps you in perspective. Because let's say your eye level is like here. This one's a little more complicated. It doesn't really warrant having this, but let's go ahead and put it anyways. So since my eye level is still above, I can still see the top. And what I'm thinking of is where the horizon line is. So the horizon line is somewhere still way up here. So you can still see top. But let's say you make it so the horizon line's here. And you draw your bed. And then you put the 4 posts. Now the horizon line's right here. So you're going to see the bottom of this. And it changes the perspective like that kind of thing. That's not very good, but you get the idea. So that's interesting. And at one point I was doing an exercise where I just drew a bunch of beds like this, and I draw them in like as if they're also like floating in space at different angles. So not just as if it's laying flat on the floor, but like if it's flying through the air or something like that, it would be at an angle like this. Like that. Okay, so that's basically the idea for the bed. And then I'd say the next more complicated shape, which I actually have the most fun drawing, let's make just a new layer for this, is couch. And chairs too, I guess, but I already talked about chairs a little bit. Chairs can be fun, like one exercise I do for chairs is just draw a bunch of the seats, like they're facing in different directions. And it's kind of like one of the tough things for me is getting things to feel like they're all on the same like plane of existence. So, or like floor plane, I should say, really. And then just kind of drawing all these chairs. Oops, this should lean back again. It's good to look up references to see what different chairs look like. And I usually just keep drawing really rough because I kind of want to build an intuitive sense of perspective. Instead of having to like calculate each out every line out and like draw the horizon line and um, all that fancy schmancy stuff. So that looks okay, I guess. It's it's not perfect, but that comes with time and practice. But but yeah, so that's another thing. So you can just keep like, okay, let's have a chair that's facing the other way. I guess I guess the basic trick is just repetition. Just keep drawing these things over and over and over again, and you'll start to get a better feel for it. All right, so chairs are important, so that's good. We kind of covered them, and let's do the last thing I think I'm going to cover in this video is the couch. And the couch is really fun. I like couches. They're fun to draw, and I like to sit on them. So overall, couches have my seal of approval. So okay, let's go ahead and just draw it from a basic, something like that. So first thing I do is draw the basic shape. Excuse me. That it falls into. This is a basic square. Now I'm going to cut the couch out. So so what I like to do is I start with the arms. It seems to be the easiest way to me. Okay, and you got to decide, like, see how this one is right on the, like, the outside is here, and then this sticks out past it. So then you know this sticks out past right here. And then you're going to kind of follow this line over, like that. Alright, and then this is going to be, you're going to need 2 cushions, or 3 depending on how big your couch is. I'm going to do 2. Like that. And see, I'm thinking, okay, where's the middle? Right there. So let's actually move that over a little bit. Like that. And then follow this over. Follow that over. And this is like very similar to the practical perspective 0 video, where I'm just building random shapes. Like in that video I talked about, like, okay, just start with this shape, and then why don't you just add a little triangle wedge, and then let's cut out this piece right here. See what happens if you do that. So now you have to think of drawing through. Oops, not very, you know, like that. And let's add a square coming off. And usually I'll take a little more time and think about it to try to get it more perfect. But the point is, I'm taking a basic shape and I'm just manipulating it. So the same idea holds true of this couch. I took a basic rectangular cube type thing, and now I'm just cutting it out into pieces. So the alright, well, let's just, okay, you know what, let's just make this square for demonstration purposes. Okay, so that would be square, and then see, it's following the contour of here. And it's got to have some thickness too to it, so don't forget that. And make your thing like a cutout couch. Alright, and then all that remains is to kind of thicken up the lines you like. If you're working digitally, you can, you know, lower the opacity and then go over it. But that's basically, now you've got a couch. Let's do a couch from a lower view, because that's something I haven't covered yet. So let's say this is the floor, and you're kind of like a mouse or some kind of small creature, perhaps a parakeet, who's found its way on the floor, and its little wings are clipped, so can't fly up to its cage again, unfortunately. Then you might see the couch from this angle. Alright, it's the same basic idea. And now here, this part, you're not going to see it coming in there, but how do you figure out where this is? So let's go ahead and put this in here. Okay. So we've gotten all the parts we can see. And then to figure out where this is, you kind of like estimate where this line and this line would meet up. Muffin, I'm making a video, relax. Because you heard about the sad tale of the parakeet who fell on the floor. So this looks like kind of too long a couch. I think because you can tell, because if you look at this basic box shape I made, it's kind of long and not very tall. Couch should be more tall, probably. A little more tall than it is wide. Muffin, relax. Alright, I'm taking you out of the cage. He's a lot quieter when I take him out of the cage. 1 second. Come on, Muffin. Alright. He gets a little overexcited. Oh, alright, whatever. He's gonna go back in. Alright, sorry about that. Anyways, I'll wrap up this video real quick, but I want it to be one more couch that's yeah, let's just do this one really loosely. This one's like leaning back a little bit. And I like to work like on these kind of, I always do 3 types of drawings. If you see my sketchbook flip through, you'll see what I mean for my practice at the end of studying any subject. I do bad, experimental, and creative drawings. So I'll draw things like basically badly, like I won't try very hard, and just, so here, I like to cut the corner to create the couch. To give the couch kind of that shape, because I guess, I don't know, either I saw a couch that way or that's how I imagine couches. I'm not exactly sure. See, that's not good, because, so this is what I'm talking about. This is bad. And then experimental would be like, okay, what if I use this kind of shape for the couch instead? Like where this part is leaning forward. What's that going to do? You know, and then I'll draw the couch like that. Okay, and then I'll see, oh, okay, interesting, and this, whatever looks, and I'll do different, like a half page of this, a half page of bad drawings, a half page, or even a third of a page. But I make small drawings, so I'm kind of jam packing them in there. But you know, whatever works for you. And then creative is like what would I do for creative? Kind of whatever I want. That's where I like if I want to draw a couch that I'm seeing, if I want to practice shading a little bit. Alright, apparently Muffin doesn't want me to continue this video, and it's been a little while, so I guess that's it. Hope this was helpful. Peace, God bless, and stay fantastic, everyone. Say bye, Muffin. Of course, now he's going to be quiet. Oh my gosh.